Okay, so tech news first. The REALME C3 was officially launched last Thursday, March 5 in Taguig, and you can now buy the phone in the REALME stores and online stores here in the Philippines. We came to the launch event and they proudly announced that the REALME's fast-selling phone here in the Philippines is the REALME 5i. No doubt in that since it has entitled the Budget King. So a lot of you guys asking a question, what should I pick between those two phones? The REALME C3 is cheaper compared to REALME 5i. Yes, it's cheaper. The REALME 5i is 6,990 while REALME C3 is at 5,990 pesos. So in this video, we will talk about the two main features, the camera and the gaming performance. What is up Manila? This is Aishadel of Manila Shaker. The Battle of the Throne. So the REALME 5i is sitting there, the king, and here is our contender, the REALME C3. Both got a lovely back design and they are really identical in terms of physical buttons, audio and ports, and they weigh the same. So I wondered why this phone, the C3, is not a successor of the REALME 5i or in the REALME 5 family, and why they named it C3 and put it on the REALME C series. Hindi ko na patatagalin pa, I will explain why right now. You see, C3 only has a triple camera, while 5i got a quad cam. So what's missing on the C3? The ultra-wide angle lens, 4K video recording, stabilization, and some camera features. Now, I want to talk for a second about the stabilization. There are three types of stabilization. One is the axis stabilization, where the hardware inside is keeping the lens from moving a lot. Next is the digital stabilization, where the clip will stabilize through software AI. It is possible when the phone can shoot higher than 1080p because the software will warp the footage and produce lossless 1080p quality. Basically, if it is 4K resolution, the software will use the extra resolution and reduce down the stabilized footage 1080p. And the last stabilization is both hardware and software combined. So the reason why C3 doesn't have stabilization is because it only shoots in 1080p max. So that's a 1 point right there to our king. Now let's talk about the performance. You already know REALME C3 is powered by Helio G70, an entry-level gaming chipset. You can play high settings in most games with no lags, while the REALME 5i only offers low settings on graphic-intensive games like PUBG or Asphalt 9. So a plus point for the REALME C3. They both tie, and that's the problem. If I will choose between these two phones, talagang mahihirapan ako mamili. Whether I'll choose to be artistic or I choose to be entertained. And that's why C3 is in the C series family. They balance every capability. REALME, why? Bakit nyo kami pinapahirapan ng ganito? Anyway, moving on to the in-depth comparison, the two phones are protected by Gorilla Glass 3 and both have plastic back and plastic frame. And they got pretty much the same screen. They are both IPS LCD with a 6.5-inch screen at 720p resolution. The quality of both screens are pretty much the same. Subjectively, I've noticed that REALME C3 got a higher brightness, especially outdoors, and the UI is pretty much whiter. They both got a sunrise design on its back. Honestly, I love the designs of both phones. But REALME C3 sunrise have a sense of sensuality and it is visible when you hold the phone, like when you are talking to someone or taking pictures. The sunrise will show up, while the REALME 5i, it's on the bottom part and you can cover those with your hand. So design and build wise, I will pick the REALME C3. Next in line is their home screen. The REALME 5i is not in Android 10.0 and don't have a REALME UI yet. But I heard that they will have that updates for the REALME 5 series most likely in May 2020. I talk about the REALME UI updates on our unboxing video. Make sure to check that out. We don't have to make much deeper on the softwares. I just want to say that they both got a dark mode and the latest security patches. Though REALME UI got a really cool features and designs, you just have to wait for a couple of months so you can get that features on the REALME 5i. Both are the same on paper. Let's see the 12 megapixel main lens of both devices. The quality are pretty good. It has a decent dynamic range and got a nearly natural colors as well. But the REALME 5i has more contrast than the C3, thus giving the photo more depth and life. Turning on the high dynamic range, we will see a slight difference on the shadows. The highlights was reduced down to see more details and the color boosted up a little bit. The low light shots naman, you'll start to notice the effect of dynamic range on the shadows. What I noticed about the camera of Realme 5i is that it has an auto set of the scene. Because of its camera AI, it will automatically adjust the color and white balance. That's why we see here that the colors are more true to life than the Realme C3. Switching to the zooms, quality of the photos are great at 2x zoom. However, the 5i's AI is struggling to adjust the color correction of its photo. C3 wins in terms of technicality. Switching to wide angle lens, which Realme C3 doesn't have, still the photos are sharp and has a natural color pa rin on the Realme 5i. Macro shot. So the details in these photos are pretty much the same, but 5i has more depth and deeper blacks. Sharpness still remains, and I noticed that the lens has a spherical bokeh, which I really like. Now, the export mode. So the main difference here are only the ISO range. The Realme C3 can adjust up to 6400 ISO. Well, it's not a bleeding edge feature, but just to let you know. Switching to the front camera, hi again, it's me. So the skin tones are different between the two. I think that it is because of the AI beauty features of both phones. Realme C3 is more vivid. The Realme 5i got an 8 megapixel lens while the C3 only has a 5 megapixel front lens. Turning on the HDR will give you more flattering selfie and more saturation. The Realme C3 on the left has warmer tone and vibrant compared to the Realme 5i. Realme 5i doesn't have a bokeh slider, but it still has this bokeh effect, while Realme C3 has a slider to adjust blurriness in the background. And the Realme C3 on the left side got a deep blacks, thus making the photo less detailed, but I like the skin tone of the Realme C3 compared to the Realme 5i. Let's go ahead and talk about the video record of the phone. Realme 5i can shoot up to 4K and has a digital stabilization, while Realme C3 only offers 1080p footage without a stabilization. For comparisons, here are the footage. The device both shoots slow motion at 120 fps. Realme 5i got a nightscape features so you can take low light shots. While the Realme C3 on the other hand can shoot also in low light. However, Realme 5i wins in terms of camera features and flexibility. Now let's talk about the performance of both phones. Realme 5i is powered by Snapdragon 665 plus Adreno 610 GPU with a 2 to 4 gigs of RAM, while Realme C3 has a Helio G70 processor, a Mali G52 GPU, and with a 3 gig of RAM variant. To test the processors, here is the benchmark of the two phones. Realme C3 is 10% higher compared to Realme 5i. Let's try to clear the RAM and open apps to see the difference. The Realme C3 performed well, but Realme 5i is pretty good pa rin naman. Now, this is the main difference here. In PUBG, we have a recommended settings. So basically, it decides whether your phone is capable of playing with these settings, and we can see that the game on Realme 5i offers low quality only, while C3 got a high settings by default. Playing games on both phones are good, but in a sense, you can play smooth with high graphics on Realme C3. On the Asphalt 9, if we try to max out our settings in Realme 5i, you will see a lot of frame drops and stuttering, especially when there are special effects playing in the screen. Realme C3 on the other hand is running smooth even at max settings. Clearly, the Realme C3 is the king of gaming between the two. But keep in mind that more power means more battery consumption. They both got 5000 mAh battery capacity and the charging time of both phones are the same 3 hours using a 10-watt power brick. The stereo speakers of Realme 5i produce a little less compared to Realme C3, but overall the sound quality is pretty great. So that was our comparison between the Realme 5i and the Realme C3. Both have different strengths and capabilities. They got their own unique features as well. But overall, besides gaming satisfaction or camera flexibility, at the end of the day, they are both a mid-range budget phone. We hope that we gave what you wanted to know. Hit like and subscribe for more tech news, reviews, and comparison of the latest smartphones here at Manila Shaker. This is Aishadel. Thank you for watching. Peace.